Welcome to my channel, Richard Lloyd USA. I am Richard Lloyd. I'm a content producer here on YouTube. If this video helps you out and you like this video, do me a huge favor and click the like button on the bottom right hand corner over here and give me a big thumbs up. That helps my channel, it helps my video, and I greatly appreciate it. Also, in the comments section below, leave your comments, your questions, and anything else you wish to relate to me in that comment section below. I look at them regularly and respond to them regularly as well. Anytime during the process of watching this video, you can subscribe to my channel, and as part of the process of subscribing to my channel, you'll see a bell icon. If you click on the bell icon, every time that I put up a new video, you will be notified, and then you can watch it at your own leisure. Also, in the video description below, you'll see links to all the products and services that I show inside my video. Now, usually these are affiliate links, and what that means is that at no additional cost to you, I earn a small commission when you use them to click through and buy those products. So do me a huge favor and click on those links if you're going to go and buy the products that I've shown you. It helps my channel, it helps me, and it helps support me to make more videos like this for you in the future. So be sure to click on those links below in the video description. Also, as a benefit, you will be getting the products from the same sellers and the same sources as I got them, so you'll be sure to get the exact same product that you saw on the video as well. I want to thank you in advance for doing so. In this video, I'm going to be showing you how to port forward or map ports on a TP-Link Archer C9. This is the AC1900 Wi-Fi router. And I put links for that in the video description below for you guys. And it's using the new TP-Link interface. In another video I'll make in the future, I'll show you another TP-Link router using the old menu-driven interface. This is more of the graphical interface, and you'll see it here in a minute. Let's go to our next slide here. And port mapping is actually able to map two different type of protocols. TCP/IP protocol actually has two protocols inside it. One of them is TCP, the other one is UDP. Now you're probably wondering, Richard, why do I care, right? Well, because you need to forward one or the other to the ports that you're going to, and it's usually specific. Sometimes you need both of them, but usually they want either TCP or UDP, so it's important to understand why that is. And here on the screen I show you what the differences between those two protocols are. TCP is heavy, but very reliable. UDP is fast, but there's no error checking or no guaranteed delivery of those packets. And again, not really stuff you need to know, but it's kind of a background on networking that we're doing here, okay? So also you need to know that every IP address has 65,535 possible TCP ports and UDP ports. And so, you know, there's a lot of options on how to connect to an IP device or an IP network device. So again, not really need to know, but nice to know. Okay, so that's the background on what we're doing here. We'll go forward here. Now, you may have asked, well, why do I need to know that? Well, like, let's say a device like a PS4 uses both TCP and UDP ports, and you need to forward both types to it as well. The Xbox One uses the same thing, not the same ports, but still uses a mixture of TCP ports and UDP ports, as you can see here on the screen. And you can reference these here on my video if you wish. And I may do a video on how to specifically port forward to these devices. I don't currently own any of them, but in the future, or I may be able to borrow one to show you how to do it. So let's go next. Another very, very important part of port forwarding, in fact, probably the most crucial, is you need to have dedicated assigned IP addresses on all the devices that you're going to connect to. You can't have them running on what they call DHCP. Reason being is DHCP may assign it a different IP address than the one that you forwarded to, and then the device will stop working or the forwards will stop working. So port forwarding needs to go to a specific IP address. The way you get that to happen every time is to assign a hard-coded IP address to each device that you're forwarding a port to. So if you don't know what that is or how to assign an IP address to your device, Google your device, look in the manual. Most IP-centered devices like cameras or even PS4s and Xboxes, have the ability to hard code the IP address to them, and you should do that. So, but I'm not going into how to do that in this video. I'm assuming that you already have done it or know how to do it. So let's go next. Here's the setup that we're going to have for this video. I'm going to have the TP-Link Archer as the test router on 192.168.1.1, and I'm simulating a network inside my network so that I don't have to forward these ports out to the internet, because number one, it's a vulnerability. Number two, it's much easier to show you this working inside my network than outside on the outside network. So I got my Archer C9 connected to my main router. So for the purposes of this video, when we're on this network, the 192.168.0 network, or 01 here, but that's the IP, but the network is 0. We're on the internet. And when we're on this range, we're inside the router, on the inside or the LAN side of the router. So this is the WAN side of the router of the TP-Link Archer, and this is the LAN side. And I'm going to be connecting to a Raspberry Pi with 3 ports open on it on 192.168.1.123. And I'm going to be connecting to an IP camera on 192.168.1.10. And that is going to be on port 8080 as well. You'll notice here that I have 2 port 8080s listed, and that's okay. I'll show you how to handle that on the other side. On the WAN side of a router, you cannot have one port going to 2 different devices. So in other words, I can't share out or map 8080 to 2 devices. I can only map 8080 on the outside to one device, but there is a way around that, and I'll show you how to do that in this video. Again, at the bottom, fixed IP addresses on all port forwarded devices, no DHCP assignments. In other words, they have to have hard-coded IP addresses. If you don't do that, they'll move around, the IP addresses will change, and the port forwards will now no longer work. So here's the configuration we're going to be dealing with. I've got the TP-Link Archer C9 router, Wi-Fi router, connected in this manner with these devices. So we've got an inside IP address of 192.168.1.1. So that puts it on the 192.168.1 network. And everything is connected there will be the Raspberry Pi 3 B Plus at 192.168.1.123. And it's going to be sharing out a web server on port 80. It's going to be sharing out the Kodi media server from port 80 on it to port 9090 on the outside, and SSH port 22 to the outside world on port 22. And I'm also going to hook up, or have hooked up, an IP webcam on port 8080 on 192.168.1.110. So all these things are internally connected, and they're going to be shared out to the internet on the WAN side, which is the 192.168.0.10 IP, and 0 is the network. So 192.168.0 network. So I'm simulating this inside my network because it's much easier than setting it up to the outside world, and I'm not exposing my network by doing so. And it's far simpler for me to show it this way than it is any other way. So this is what we're going to do. I'm going to minimize this out of the way here. And right now I'm connected to the router on the inside. So I'm connected through Wi-Fi to the router on 192.168.1.1. And if you want to find out what your IP address to see where you're connected, you can go here to Properties on your connection, and you'll see your IP address here, 192.168.1.100. I'm stressing the 1 because that's the network. And it says here the DNS server is 192.168.1.1. Usually that's your router, but not always. So let me show you the clear and no fuss way to find out what IP address your router is on. So right click your network icon, go to Open Network and Internet Settings. and then click on Sharing Center, and then click on Change Adapter Settings. And then whatever network you're connected to here, in my case, you can see it's Wi-Fi. All the rest is disabled or not connected. Right-click it, choose Status, and then go to Details. And you'll see here your default gateway. And in my case, it's 192.168.1.1. And the default gateway is generally where your router is, okay? And you can see the other numbers are the same as well, so it's taking care of those functions as well. But the gateway is always your router. So in my case, 192.168.1.1. So I'll close this off, out of the way, and let's go and do a little testing. Now, you can see that all these things are connected internally. Right now they're running and they're connected. And in order, what you should really do before you start forwarding these ports out to the world or out to the outside or the WAN side is to see if they're actually working on the inside first. That way you can verify that the devices are running, the ports are open, and the services are connecting, right? That way, you know, when you get to the outside world and you start testing, if you go, oh, it doesn't work, my port forwarding isn't working, why is that? Well, at least you'll know that all of the ports on the inside are working, and it's something to do with the way you set it up or the IP address that you used. Again, remember, static IP addresses on all the stuff on the inside that you're sharing out to the world, okay? So let me minimize this again, and let's go do some testing. Now, I already have the Raspberry Pi running, so let's connect to it on port 22, and I use that using this terminal program called PuTTY. And I'm going to be connecting through SSH on port 22 to 192.168.1.123. And if SSH is running on that little server right now, I should be able to connect to it. And sure enough, there it is. It's asking me to log in. I'm going to log in as Pi. I'm going to put my password in here. And here I'm just going to reboot it, because I want to restart everything on it fresh. Okay, so as soon as I reboot it, of course, it you know, kills the connection and reboots the device. So once again, I'm going to try this one, log into it one more time. It reboots fairly quick. The Raspberry Pi running on a micro SD card, a SanDisk micro SD card, is pretty quick. So 192.168.1.123. And I'm logging back into it to turn the Kodi server back on. And there it is. So it's already rebooted. That's how quick that happens. Log in as Pi. And start the Kodi server by typing in Kodi. That's all it takes. Enter. And so my Kodi media server right now should be running. So let's go to our web browser. Oh, not there. We want to go here. There we go. And we're going to connect to the Kodi media server and the web server. So let's start with the Kodi media server, 192.168.1.123. And that's on port 8080. There we go. And boom, there's my Kodi media server remote running. Now, my web server on that device will not come up on the inside network because it's programmed through Apache to open up on the outside network. So, I mean, I can try it, but I doubt it's going to do anything here. Let's, it's 192.168.123.80 and enter. And as you can see, it switched down here to connecting to 192.168.1.0.10, as you can see at the bottom. So that is an indication that the actual web server is working. Really, I'll test that on the outside, but I know it's running right now. So we know that port 22 is working on that Raspberry Pi. We know that port 8080 is working on that Raspberry Pi, and I know that the web server is running because of this number showing up on my browser. Next, let's test the IP webcam. So 1.110, and so it's 192.168.1.110, port 8080. Now, just so you know, here I'll hit enter on that. The IP webcam is actually my Samsung Note 4 smartphone running an app on it, an Android app, a free Android app called IP webcam. It turns it into a Wi-Fi IP webcam. Pretty cool for free, and if you got an old smartphone kicking around that has Wi-Fi, you can do that. Or even a tablet that's running Android with a camera. You can run it and make it that way. Let's go see what's happening. And there's my backyard. A little rainy today. Don't hate me because of the grass. It's middle of January. That's the color of the grass in Texas in the middle of January. Everywhere. It's not neglect on my part, okay? That's the way it is. So let's do one more little test here and full screen it. Let's see if it goes. Should. Yeah, there it is. So there's my backyard. So we know that all the devices are internally forwarding or have the ports open and ready to go. So step one is done. Let's go to the router and do the port forwarding out to the real world. So that's 192.168.1.1 as you can see on our diagram, and you can check yourself. I showed you how. And there's the router administration page. So we're going to go use the username that I put in there. Actually, that's the default username, but the password's been changed. Always change the username and password on your router from the default to something else, because anybody can Google the default password for a TP link and they'll get into it in 2 minutes flat. So don't be hacked. Change the username and password. So here we're going to hit login. Well, it helps if you put the right password in. I'll try that again. There we go. And in the TP link, you have a basic and advanced tab. Here we're going to go to the advanced tab because that's where the router, the forwarding is for the router. So we're going to go here to forwarding, and then we're going to go to virtual servers. Okay, and that is where the routing or the port forwarding is done on this router. So let's crank that open and let's start going, right? So first one we're going to do is the port 80 on the web server. So add new. And it's on port 80, so we know the outside port is going to be 80. So there we go. That's because all web servers connect on port 80, by default. And then, so you would want that if you were putting it out to the real world. And here we go. The internal port is port 80 as well. The IP address is 192.168.1.123. That's the IP address for the Raspberry Pi, as you can see here. And we don't need both protocols being forwarded. We only need TCP. I know this because that's what HTTP runs on. And then the status is enabled. That means the port is, it can be turned on and off here using this status thing. But right now it's enabled and that's what we want. So here we're going to hit save. Okay, and it says the change of virtual server configurations will not take effect until the device reboots. Well, we don't want to do that yet because we have 4 more forwards to do. So let's do the 4 more forwards and then we'll test it out. So we'll add a new one. We're going to use 8080. That's going to be, and by the way, the service port is the outside port on this thing, and the internal port is obviously the inside port. So 8080 is going to go out to port 9090. That's what we want because you cannot have 2 8080 ports on the outside. You can have them on the inside, but you can't have them on the outside. You can only have 1 port to 1 IP address on the outside, okay? So the way I'm getting around that is by rerouting it from 9090 to 8080, and the way I'm doing that, and the reason I did that is to show you how you can do that. I'm going to put it on service port 9090, and the internal port is going to be 8080, right? So from 9090 to 8080. And the IP address for that is going to be 192.168.1.123, which is the Raspberry Pi. That's where the Kodi remote server is running, or remote control server is running. And it's TCP again. And it's enabled. So here we're done. Let's save it. Then we're going to forward 22 from the outside to the inside. So it's straightforward. 22 on the service port. That's the outside. Internal port 22. 192.168.1.123. That's the Raspberry Pi. That's where we want it to go. And I know it's TCP and it's enabled. So here we're going to hit save. So 3 done. Let's do the 4th, and that's the 8080. So 8080 is going to 8080 again, and then it's going to be 192.168.1.110, and that's the IP webcam we have over here. Now it's going to be TCP as well. There we go. It is enabled. There we go, and we're going to hit save. So now we've got all 4 IP, forwards done. Here we're just going to hit reboot and reboot that router, and then verify that. There we go. And it's rebooting, but what we need to do next is log out of this network and log into this network. So I'll do that here, and let's see. And what I'm doing is I'm logging into this router and then looking at this router as if it was outside, as if I was out on the internet looking into it. So I'm going to be on the WAN side of this router when I log into this router here. Okay, so let's do that. And the way we do that is by choosing the Wi-Fi interface on that router. So I'll do that, hit connect here, and the router over here should already have been rebooted. There it is. And that little ding was Putty saying, hey, you've been disconnected, no problem. And no longer do we have access to that router because we're outside of 192.168. Right now we're 192.168.0 network. So what do we want to do? We want to test these ports out. So let's test out port 80 first. That's HTTP. And so what we need to do is connect to 192.168.0.10. As you can see, that's the WAN outside IP address of that router. So that's what we're connecting to. And on port 80, so you put colon and then 80, and that signifies to the web browser to connect on that port. Now, by default, web browsers automatically use port 80. That's what they're always using. You just don't see it, but I'm just going to specify it so that you can see it working. So let's go. And there's my web page for Richard Lloyd, YouTube creator and partner, running on that Raspberry Pi using LAMP. That's Linux, Apache, MySQL, and PHP. Pretty cool, right? And that's WordPress that I'm using as far as a web page is going on there. So in case you wanted to know. So next we're going to connect to it on the same device on port 9090, and that should be the Kodi Media server remote. So I'm just going to put colon and the same IP address, 9090, enter. And boom, there's my, well, not quite yet, but there's my Kodi remote control for the media server. Perfect, right? Really nice, works well. Again, Raspberry Pi running all this stuff at one time. Very cool. Next, we're going to test SSH again. So just minimize this, we'll come back to it. So SSH, again, we're going to connect through our PuTTY program, and it's going to be 192.168.0.10 this time, not 123, because we're connecting through the outside world on port 22. And as you can see, it's asking me to log in, and the only way it's going to ask me to log in is if it's routed me through, and it has, so I'll just do that. What the heck. There we go. It's up and working. Let's see SSH tested out. So last but not least is the IP webcam. And we'll open up the browser again. And it is on port 8080. On the outside, as you can see on my diagram, there it is, port 8080 IP webcam. Enter. And the first thing you get is the control interface for that camera. If I hit browser, it should bring up the camera. We'll see. There it is. So there's the camera being ported out or forwarded through the port forward. So yeah, there you go. It's everything on that router forwarded through the configuration. So basically, that's how you forward ports. That's what happens when you forward ports. You're giving access to the outside world of your router to the inside world of your network through specific IP addresses and ports. Again, this is just my video on the Archer C9 AC1900 router. I will do other interfaces, TP-Link has a menu-driven interface as well, a simpler one. I'm going to do a video on that as well. Thank you for watching my video. Please click on the like button on the bottom corner over here and give me a big thumbs up. That helps my channel, it helps my video, and I greatly appreciate it. Also, in the comments section below, make sure you leave your comments, suggestions, and questions. I answer them regularly and I read them regularly, and they also help me create content for this channel as well. Make sure to click on my picture at the end of this video to subscribe to my channel, and once again, don't forget to click on the bell icon to be notified when I put up a new video. Once again, and like always, I want to thank you for watching and for your time.